Comedy isn't an art form. Don't let anyone tell you that hippie garbage. Painting is art. Poetry is art. Comedy is warfare. It's a blood sport, plain and simple. You walk out onto a stage, just you and a microphone stand, and you are staring down 200 drunk, tired, judgmental predators who want to see you bleed. If you're good, you're a lion tamer. If you're bad, you're the steak. For 20 years, I was the guy with the whip. I wasn't just moderately successful. I was a killer. I was the guy other comics stood in the back of the room to watch because they wanted to see how I dismantled people. I didn't tell knock-knock jokes. I found the insecurity in the room, the one thing you were terrified someone would notice, and I shined a spotlight on it until you either laughed or cried. I didn't care which. A reaction is a reaction, control is control. The night I met him, I was invincible. It was a Saturday late show at the Cellar, the kind of room that smells like stale beer and desperation. My favorite scent. The crowd was hot. I was riffing, moving fast, bobbing and weaving like a boxer, and then I saw him. Table 4. Front and center. He was a nothing little guy, beige sweater, glasses, sitting next to a woman who was clearly out of his league. She looked bored, he looked terrified. It was like seeing a wounded gazelle limping through the Serengeti. You don't just let that go. It's professional malpractice to let that go. I stopped my set. I leaned on the mic stand. I smiled that shark smile that I practiced in the mirror for hours. "Folks," I said, lowering my voice to that conspiratorial purr, "look at this. We have a hostage situation at table 4. The room erupted. That's the drug. That sound. It's better than sex, better than heroin. I went in on him. I tore him apart. I made fun of his sweater, his posture, the way he blinked. I asked the girl, she was pretty in a vapid way, if she was blinking SOS or if she was just blinded by the glare off his forehead. I spent 10 minutes just carving him up. It was surgical. I was brilliant. The audience was screaming, gasping for air, and him, Zayar, that was his name though, I didn't know it then, he just sat there. He didn't heckle back. He didn't get mad. He just watched me with these dark, flat eyes. He took it. Most people break. They look down, they laugh nervously. He just stared. I thought he was paralyzed by my genius. I thought I'd won the round. I didn't know he was just taking notes. I didn't know he was studying the specimen. It started about 3 weeks later. At first, I thought it was just burnout. Too many late nights, too much scotch, too many cigarettes. I was on stage in Cleveland, doing a bit about airline food. Hacky, I know, but it pays the bills, and I tripped over a word. Peanuts. Simple word, 2 syllables. My tongue just stopped. It felt thick, like I just licked a chalkboard. I slurred it. Peanuts. The crowd didn't really notice, maybe a few confused looks, but I noticed. A cold spike of panic went right down my spine. A comic's voice is his instrument. If you can't articulate, you're dead. I played it off, made a joke about having a stroke, got a laugh, but the fear didn't leave. Then came the hands. I dropped a coffee mug in my kitchen. My fingers just opened. No warning, no pain, just let go. Then the legs. I'd be walking down the street and my left knee would just buckle, like someone kicked the back of my leg. I went to the doctors, all of them, the specialists with the mahogany desks and the degrees on the wall. They ran the MRIs, the CT scans, the blood work. They shrugged, they frowned. Stress, they said. Idiopathic neuropathy, they said. Early onset something or other. They gave it names, but they didn't have answers. I watched my bank account drain like a bathtub with the plug pulled. My friends, the guys I drank with, the guys they opened for, they stopped calling. Nobody wants to be around a dying comic. It's bad luck. It's depressing. It took 6 months for my world to shrink down to the size of a postage stamp. I sold a condo. I had to. I was living in a crappy motel, eating soup because chewing was getting hard. I used the last of the condo money to hire a private investigator, back when I could still hold a pen and scrawl a signature that looked like a spider seizure. I didn't have much to go on, just a face burned into my memory and a suspicion that wouldn't die. I gave him the description, the date of the show, the club. The PI was good, expensive but good. He traced the credit card receipt from table 4, Zayar, the city, Omaha. He found him. Zayar worked in a biotech lab at a local university. A quiet, brilliant, forgettable little man who specialized in targeted neurotoxins. Of course he did. The punchline finally landed. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't nature. It was a review. I flew back. Well, flew implies I was soaring. I was cargo. I had to request a wheelchair at the airport because walking more than 50 feet made me look like a drunk toddler. I don't know what I was planning to do. The rational part of my brain, the part that writes the setups, knew I was in no condition for a fight. But the comic in me, the part that needs the tag, the closer, the standing ovation, that part was striving. I had to confront him. I had to win. I had to look him in the eye and deliver one last devastating line that would shatter him. I spent the flight writing it in my head. I couldn't write on paper anymore. My hands were basically useless claws. So I polished the monologue in my mind. It was a masterpiece of vitriol. It was sharp. It was cruel. It was my magnum opus. I rented a car in Omaha. Driving was dangerous, stupid really, but I managed. I waited outside his apartment building. It was a cheap brick box in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place where people die of boredom. But it was clean. The lobby was quiet. Too quiet. It smelled of floor wax and mediocrity. I sat on a little bench by the mailboxes, my cane resting against my knee. I checked my watch, 5:15, 5:20. My heart was hammering against my ribs, a frantic, uneven rhythm. This was it, the headliner set. He came home at 5:30 exactly. Creature of habit. He was carrying a reusable bag of groceries, celery sticking out the top. So suburban, so mundane. He walked to the glass doors, shaking an umbrella. He saw me. He didn't look scared. He didn't look surprised. He didn't drop the groceries in shock like they do in the movies. He just stopped. He adjusted his glasses, and he waited. I practiced this 1,000,000 times in the dark of my motel room and the silence of the doctor's waiting rooms. I stood up. It took everything I had. My legs felt like wet cement, heavy and unreliable. I locked my knees. I pointed a shaking finger at him. My brain was screaming the script. You did this. You took my life, you pathetic, spineless coward. You couldn't take a joke, so you poisoned me? You're a hack. You're a fucking nothing. I own you. The words were screaming in my skull, loud and clear and perfect. I opened my mouth to deliver the kill shot. I pushed the air from my lungs. I engaged the vocal cords. I tried to shape the consonants. The sound that came out of me wasn't human. It was wet. It was guttural. It was a gasping, choking grunt, like a dying animal trying to cough up a bone. It was the most pathetic noise I'd ever heard in my life. Drool, thick and humiliating, instantly spilled over my bottom lip. Zayar just watched me. He didn't flinch. His head tilted to the side slightly, like he was listening to a bad joke that didn't quite land. He looked at me with that same flat academic curiosity he had at the club. "Hello, Bill," he said. His voice was soft, calm, reasonable. He had complete control of the room now. He was the MC now. I tried again. I pushed harder. My face turned red. My tongue was a dead thing in my mouth, a slab of meat that wouldn't obey me. I couldn't make it touch the roof of my mouth. I couldn't make the percussive sounds. I was so full of rage, so full of words they were choking me. I was a pressure cooker with no valve, vibrating with the force of my own impotence. "Yes, it was me," he said, answering the question I hadn't been able to ask. He shifted the grocery bag to his other hip. "I was wondering if that big, fast brain of yours would put it together. You were always clever, Bill. Cruel, but clever." He took a step closer. I flinched. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to tackle him, but my feet were glued to the floor. "You don't remember, do you? The joke. The one you told about me. You destroyed me, Bill, in front of 200 people, in front of her. She left me, you know, after that night. She said she couldn't respect a man who let another man speak to him like that." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You didn't want to laugh. You wanted to hurt. You like that, don't you? The win, the kill." I tried to lunge. It was a desperate, clumsy motion. I tried to grab his throat. I just stumbled. My knee gave out. I crashed into a fake ficus plant. The pot shattered. Dirt spilled all over the clean white tile. I ended up on my hands and knees, panting, drooling into the potted soil. I looked stupid. He didn't even move to help me. He didn't back away. He just looked down. "It's a toxin," he said, almost academically. He sounded like he was giving a lecture to a slow student. "My own little recipe, derived from a pufferfish variant, but modified. It targets the motor cortex, specifically the pathways for complex speech and fine articulation. The damage, it's already done. It's permanent." Permanent. The word hit me harder than any fist. It echoed in the empty lobby. Permanent. "You're still in there, Bill," he whispered, and this time I saw it. A tiny, awful smile. The smile of a man who has won the war. That's the beauty of it. You're still you. You can still think all those sharp, mean, clever things. You can write entire specials in your head. You just can't say them. You can never let them out." He stepped around me, carefully stepping over the spilled dirt so he wouldn't scuff his shoes. "You have to live in the silence, Bill, just like you made me live in the noise. Enjoy the quiet." He walked to the elevator, pressed the button with a steady finger, and waited. He never looked back. Not once. I just lay there in the dirt, my mouth half open, a long string of drool connecting my lip to my shirt, watching the doors close on him.
My fortress, my objective witness. It was all a toy box. He'd never lost the key. He probably had a copy made the day I moved in. He knew where I was the whole time. My phone was off, the system was disarmed. The neighbors couldn't hear me over the storm, and even if they could, they'd just turn up their TV. He sat on the edge of the bed, the mattress dipped under his weight. It was the most terrifying feeling in the world, that shift in gravity. "See?" he whispered, his face close to mine. I could smell the rain on him, and something else. Cologne. The expensive kind he always wore. "I told you, you really can trust your own judgment." And that's the last thing I see. His eyes, dark, calm, and utterly victorious. That's the last thing I know. Look, I know this sounds crazy. Trust me, I know. I'm sitting here telling you this, and even I don't want to believe it. But you have to believe me. Someone has to. Because if you don't, if you think I'm just the crazy lady from apartment 7B, then he wins. And I can't let him win again. Please, you have to believe me.
Thank you so much for watching or listening. The things that go bump in the night are hungry for attention. By liking and subscribing, you're telling me you want more. You're helping me bring even more chilling tales and terrifying content to life.